welcome back. Another episode of Post-Fades and Cheesesteaks, hosted by yours truly, Dakota. And Timothy, happy to have you back after your beer extravaganza trip in Munich.
I know it's a long time coming. Good time though. I'd highly recommend Oktoberfest. It's a
Yeah,
lot of fun.
is that the so what's the breakdown? How does that how long were you there?
I was there. We were there for like 4 days. Did a couple days in London beforehand. We
Mm,
did Oktoberfest the 3 nights. Picture, you know what? I didn't really know what to go into it, but besides it's gonna be a big party with a lot of beer.
okay.
Picture Six Flags with like 12 warehouses filled with a massive stage in it, like almost like a concert venue, and just picnic tables on picnic tables and filled to the gills. It's an absolute party. It's a good time, but it's huge and it is packed at every moment of the day you go. We went during the day, we went at night, we went on Mondays, we went on Tuesdays, we went on every day.
Have
Every
you
single minute you're there, wild.
have you ever been to what's it called? Music Fest in Bethlehem?
I have not. I've not spent a lot of time in Bethlehem. Can't say I've
Yeah,
ventured
I
too
mean,
far out there.
I probably wouldn't recommend Bethlehem, but Music Fest is like a big deal. They have like some pretty big bands. It's like a week or two. I forget how long it is. But they had like some big bands come out. I forget who. I know Goo Goo Dolls were there this past summer.
Okay. I
I forget who
love a little
else.
Goo Goo Dolls.
Yeah, I actually was
Was
gonna.
it Goo Goo Dolls Iris? That's a good song, right?
Oh yeah, it's a phenomenal song.
It slaps, yeah.
Iris
I get
Slide. There's some other good
Oh,
ones.
Slide is a good one. Goo Goo Dolls don't get enough love.
I agree. I agree.
I mean, I haven't made a song in 20 years, but yeah, I mean, they peaked. A lot of
Yeah.
those, you know what? Now that we're on the topic, a lot of those like early 2000 bands kind of like peaked and then disappeared.
I
You
think
know,
I think some of them they're still making music. It just hasn't been like made it to like the radio stations and you
I
know.
mean, are they like, but I haven't heard the Goo Goo Dolls make any kind of songs.
Yeah, no. I
You
mean, I
know,
saw Matchbox 20 apparently makes music again, and they
well,
haven't,
Matchbox
you know,
20, yeah,
they
they're
were good
great,
in
but
the
they
early
kind of Rob
2000s.
Thomas kind of did his own thing, you know.
Yeah,
They,
classic
eventually
rock band.
when they split up and they start doing their own like solo acts, they eventually find their way back after that comes to an end. But I mean, there's a lot of like one hits, Trapped, Headstrong, yeah, where'd they go? They had some big ones. You got Finger 11, Paralyzer,
Mm.
Puddle of Mud, there was Three Door Down. Like some of
Puddle
these
of
guys made some other
Mud.
songs.
You're just naming
Dude,
WWE intro bands now.
I lived up, but there's so many like they just kind of fell off. Even I mean, it's older, but the
Who
Offspring,
was the
what happened
one?
to them? They were cruising.
Who was the one? Psalm 41. What was their song?
Oh, they're awesome.
Oh,
They were literally the soundtrack of every teen movie
oh
from
yeah.
2000 to 2007.
It doesn't matter what year you go to college, that song will play at your local college bar. I don't know.
Oh, it's
It's
fantastic.
just associated with college.
I saw some 41 Advanced Warped Tour and they were awesome.
Warped
Crowd
Tour,
surfed
that's
on
throwing
it.
it back.
It really, that's you know what is Warped Tour still a thing?
I
Is
don't
that
think
still
I think
happening?
no, I think they stopped it a couple years
Maybe you know
ago.
what? It's kind of almost like the door closed on that genre of music. People
Yeah.
just I don't know. They got worse, evolved. Like, did the human race deplete? They get worse in their music taste because
Um,
those bands were awesome.
yeah. It was like that pop punk kind of stuff, but with like alternative and it was a nice little
It's
mix.
good, yeah, a little more pump, a little more vibe
Yeah.
to it than just the traditional punk stuff. But I mean, going off that,
Hmm.
you know what the one of the most played songs was at Oktoberfest? Because obviously they do the German stuff, but then they do some other, classic hits like, Don't Stop Believing. Um, what's another one that was to throw out some Queen out there, We Will Rock You. Song I heard quite often, which I was surprised. All the Small Things by Blink-182. Very popular
Hmm.
in the German tents.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, no. Oktoberfest, great time. I highly recommend it. It's good even if you're doing a short trip. I mean, it is, it's a giant party. I could do like 3 days, I wouldn't recommend more than that, but it's a good time. You see pretty much everything you need to see. A lot of fun.
Is it like I mean that's not we'll not spend too much time, but is it like a different you like trying different beer or like what is I never really understood. Is it just like people just drinking 24/7 or what is the point of it?
Pretty much. It's like, so you're like in a car, like literally like a Six Flags. Picture a Six Flags. So
Mm.
you're in a Six Flags, and then there's these like, I don't know, airport hangars filled with just people. And there's a massive stage. There's like picnic tables that everyone dances and stands on. And you just ask for a beer and they just give you a beer. I
Mm.
mean, they might serve other beer, but I just ask for a beer. So whatever beer gets me,
There
that's
you
what I get. They all tasted the same, but
Mm.
a good time. They come out in those steins. They're huge. So
Yeah, yeah. I saw videos of like the waitresses like carrying like like 20 of them at one
oh, it's
time. It's crazy.
insane. Like, dude, that's nothing. They carry. You know, like how those old like pharaohs and King Tut would come out on those like shallow, like I don't know what you would call them, platforms, and they get
Yeah,
carried out by their
yeah.
slaves or whoever. I swear to God, like one person carries one of those with all covered in food. People actually go into those tents and eat food. It blew my mind.
Crazy,
But
crazy.
it's amazing, like it's an incredible feat of strength and balance that you see out there in those
Mm.
tents.
Well, I will say before we get into football, we can transition from Oktoberfest to Red October as the Phillies knocked off the Marlins in a sweep, two straight games, destroyed. Honestly, was the first one was a 3-1 or 3-0, or I
It
forget.
wasn't close. At no point were those games close.
Yeah, and then the not the game the other night, 7-1 grand slam by Stott. Real Muto was hitting well. Schwarber looks pretty good. Castellanos is still playing well. So
Yeah,
yeah,
the pitchers.
they look hungry. They look like they're not fucking around. They want to win. They want that to get back to the World Series. So I like how locked in they are. So we'll see what got to get past the Braves and then you're in the clear. That's the tough
That's
one.
true. I mean, I wouldn't mind if who made it past? I think the Diamondbacks beat the Brewers.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind if the
sweep.
Diamondbacks knocked off the Dodgers. That would be nice. But
I still
I
think the
mean, you got to
Phillies
beat
can
the
beat the
Braves before you get there.
Dodgers. I still think the Phillies can beat the Dodgers. The Braves are the toughest team in the entire playoffs, I think. So
Yeah, but I kind of like it's a divisional opponent. I like our
yeah,
chances against
that
the
whole side
Braves.
goes through the Phillies division. So
It's true. Well, hey, listen, we'll say, you know what, the one thing they have that other teams I haven't seen so far in the playoff games I've seen, they have so much swagger and
oh
energy to
yeah.
them. And you know what, that matters in these games. Baseball isn't as fast paced as other sports. Like having that juice, keeping the team locked in, keeping the team rolling. I think that plays in a factor. It was a big thing last year, obviously, when the song came out. I think they look a lot like they did last year, and I really like it.
I think it's funny how I mean I think it's valid when a lot of people critique Philadelphia sports fans that they're, obnoxious, they're loud, they're rude and all this and sometimes the worst. But you can't deny, whether it's an Eagles game or the Phillies playoff games, there's a home field advantage. And they like those even on the TV, the Phillies games sound insane. Like you can hear
Oh yeah.
like how loud it is there. Just imagine being in this like I saw some people I know were there. It's just that's that's the kind of thing not a lot of teams have, and I think it's helping fuel the players, like you said, with this swagger, with this hype. So
Oh
we'll
yeah,
we'll see
not
how it
not
goes.
not something that other teams have. Did you see the Rays set a record for the lowest attendance ever in a playoff game from 1919? Like, can you imagine? Like, the human population was probably 10% of what it is now, and you're telling me a Major League Baseball team is matching a record low from 1919?
You know what?
Insane.
Florida residents, I mean, you lived in Florida for a bit. I feel like they are so spoiled because they've had so many good teams lately and they just don't care. Like the
I
Lightning, the
mean,
Bucks, like the Rays, they don't feel like there's
they
never any love.
Tampa likes that. This is the main thing. Well, one, that stadium is trash. They are getting a new one, so no one wants to be there. But the second thing is, I guess they're just cheap or they get a good deal. Like that
Mm,
stadium is in St. Pete. St. Pete is not Tampa. St. Pete is where all the retired people go to live.
mm,
St. Pete is where the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Phillies fans go when they turn 7 years old and want to go to retire. That's what St. Pete is. It's a whole bunch of
yeah.
7 year olds that live up in the Northeast. And I mean, it's just I don't know the reason, the motivation. I assume it's money, and they're just too cheap to do anything. Because I'm sure it's a lot cheaper to build down there, but it's just not where that stadium needs to be.
Mm,
Since it's just you're never going to get anyone there. There's so many transplants there. They're all old. It doesn't make any sense.
hmm. Oh, there you go.
Well, I mean, hey, listen, the Rays, very good team. Got off to what? They were like 24 and
Historic
0.
start. And then they kind
Yeah,
of
and
faded,
now
but still very
and look
good.
where they're at. The a wild card Phillies team, who started a little rough, is selling out, bumping,
I
looking
mean,
good, and the Rays are they even in it? Do they win their series?
I don't know. I was gonna say I remember when the Phillies beat them in the World Series. Like even then, I feel like they're like didn't feel like they had much of a home field advantage when they went to Tampa. So I don't know. But
There is no home field advantage in Tampa. We saw that in the Bucks game.
that's yeah. Not.
But
Alrighty.
regardless,
On to football. So we're a little behind. It is Wednesday, Thursday. I don't even know what day it is anymore. Life has been a whirlwind. So
well, we got Red October, college football, NFL football.
it's
There's
too much going
too
on.
much.
Too much going on.
Halloween is just
I love
officially
it, but
kicked
there's
up.
there's too much going on. But yeah, week 4, the NFL concluded. The Eagles took care of business. It's a little sketchy, but beat the Washington Commanders in overtime. 25. Oh, wrong score. 30. Where'd it go? Oh my God.
34-31.
Thank you. The Eagles like
Which
aren't
one
even
here from?
on this like Google search thing. Oh, there they are. 34-31. Yep. Um, instant thoughts. I mean, the game was a little bit ago, but I this is the thing with this team is, and it's carried over from last year. When one phase of their offense is shut down, the other phase steps up. So first 4 weeks, they were just the dominant running team. And then I don't really think that the Commanders shut us down as much as the Eagles. I think they game plan not to run as much because I feel like they didn't really try that much. But Swift
Well, I
wasn't
mean,
getting
they
like
can't.
huge chunks of yards. I mean, that D line is crazy in Washington, but they weren't really getting huge chunks on the ground, and so they started throwing. Hurts had over 300 yards passing, no interceptions, no turnovers. I think he had what 2 or 3 touchdowns. So
Yeah, that was nice to see after a couple turnovers the other weeks.
yeah, that's it. That's what like, and it's crazy because I heard a thing the other day where they were like because the Cowboys and the 49ers play each other, and they're like, oh, this is the game to preview the NFC Championship. Who's going to represent in this? It was like the Eagles just not exist. They're 4-0, beating teams, in different ways and finding, beating the refs, in Washington,
It's true.
or
That's true.
they
There
were
were
in
some
Philly,
brutal
but
calls.
yeah, I don't. The intentional grounding was still weird to me, but um, if rules are rules,
I
I
mean,
don't know, but
so be it. Listen, it's in the past.
yeah. So offense stepped up, defense. I don't know how you can't stop Sam Howell. I mean, I think the enemy just had our number again and was just calling the right plays, and he was getting out quick. If you ever notice when teams are having success against the Eagles defense, it's because they get the ball out really quick. I mean,
Well, yeah, that takes away
Mac
the
Jones
pass
was
rush.
doing that in the first game. So yeah, nice. Reddick finally got a sack. That was good.
It's true. Yeah.
Um, Morrow had like what 3 sacks or something or 2 sacks. That was
Yeah,
pretty
the
wild.
3 sacks, he had like a first one. He really balled out. I mean, hats off to Howie. You know,
Yeah.
this is usually in the period in the time where we like ignore Howie because now it's on the field. We usually, either ridicule him, criticize him, or talk him up during the offseason. But dude, second year in a row, like these random veteran pickups in a position of need really pay dividends. I thought Sue played well last year. Linval Joseph was kind of just there, but Zach Cunningham and Nicholas Moreau were your tackle leaders. Nicholas Moreau with 3 sacks, we already talked about, and I think he had a forced fumble. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought he had a forced fumble. Really impressive. Like they both played really well. In a position in need, they brought in two veterans right before the camp and played really well. And they feel like they do that quite often lately. They just bring in these veterans, usually 2 at a time. I don't know, Noah's Ark kind of philosophy, but it works. One thing I will say, I agree with you. And I'm glad you went positive because I feel like there's way too much negativity around this team so far.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm just like anyone else. I will rip them apart when I screamed at my TV during that game.
Oh,
But
painful, painful.
listen, they're 4-0. There's 2 teams that are undefeated. We're one of them. I
Yeah.
mean, let me ask you something, my furry friend. The Eagles are 4-0, and what would you say? I wouldn't say they haven't looked good, but they haven't looked up to their potential. They haven't looked polished. Nothing's looked. They haven't reached their ceiling, we'll say. But they're 4-0. Most of these games have been close. Some of them a little hairier, especially this last one. But they're 4-0. Would you rather be 4-0, not looking particularly great, but not awful, obviously, or 3-1? You have 3 wins of like 30 plus. You looked awesome, but you have one really bad loss to one of the worst teams in football.
You just described like the Buffalo Bills, or what are we doing here?
Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, I mean, I think
Who, since you would like, who would you take? I mean, don't get me wrong. The Cowboys have 3 games where they won by like 30. We can't take it away. They did smash the Patriots. They beat the Jets, not really saying much, but they lost to the Cardinals. And that Cardinals loss was pretty rough.
yeah.
But the Eagles are here 4-0. They haven't looked, none of their games in those 4 wins have looked anywhere nearly as good as any of the Cowboys' 3 wins. And I can be, I can be honest in saying that. But I think I'd rather take the 4-0 not looking great. They're
Yeah,
just good
because
teams find a way to win.
there's yeah, and there's room to improve, and you can identify what the issues are early on in the season. And like I the problem right now is like what you said. The Eagles are winning, but they're not winning pretty. And they're not putting up, 50 plus points on teams that suck. Whereas the 49ers and the Cowboys realistically have played not good teams the first 4 games, four or 5 games of this season. And
Yeah.
everyone's giving them all this praise, like, oh, they're the best teams by far. It's not even close. I was like, you said the same thing about the Eagles when they were winning an easy schedule, but you were making
Yeah.
excuses for them. I'm like, why? Why does the media and all these fans just hate the Eagles so much? It doesn't make any sense to me. They were literally in the Super Bowl after you said, "Wow, they have an easy season. They're going to get like knocked off their feet in the playoffs." Didn't happen. Went to the Super Bowl, lost in a great game. And look, now they start the season 4-0. I don't understand the media's perception on why they just shit on the Eagles. Maybe it's because it's a Philly team. I don't know, but it
I
it
think
blows my mind how blind people are, and people still calling Jalen Hurts like, not a great quarterback, and he's being
Hurts is
carried and
fine.
this and that. I'm like,
There like that game wasn't pretty, but I was actually more impressed with this game, even though this was the closest one out of all the 4 and went in overtime. We can get to the part where it went in overtime. That last drive was infuriating to watch, but regardless,
I was like, oh,
our
look, they
last
got
drive
it.
of
Oh no, oh,
regulation.
first down. Oh, they got
Yeah,
it.
I
Oh
was
no,
like, are
first
you
down.
kidding me? Yeah. But if you look at this game was like obviously the closest. It went in overtime. This was the one you really sweated out. But if you factor in, like, they showed grit, like, yeah, they gave up the last touchdown in regulation, but then they went and I mean, they took care of business. They pretty much stopped them immediately, got the ball, and went and scored and won. Um, I think there was a lot of things that went the other way that could have definitely gone their way. That, I mean, Redskins having a fumble that they get to recover in their end zone that we could have nearly gotten. The
Yeah.
interception that we had in the end zone that was a terrible decision by Sam Howell that we should have caught, but it was dropped. Even that last touchdown to drive, AJ Brown, dude, you cannot get a taunting penalty there. Like, what are you doing? If you don't get a taunting penalty there, completely different. They don't get the ball on the 35 or the 40, wherever it was they started. Just those little things that really, really got them. But if they, little small things that had a big impact, completely different game. But all with that, some questionable calls. They still gritted out. They still found a way to win against a divisional team. You got to give them credit there.
That's the thing where it's like, I feel like we come out of every game not like thrilled. We're more like relieved that they won. So
Yeah.
the fact that they're not clicking on all cylinders, it's still September, and
Yeah.
it's
And they're
we
still
had
smacking up wins.
not only do we have a new offensive coordinator, we have a first time offensive coordinator in the NFL. So this is he's
Defense
learning,
coordinator.
and if well, yeah,
First time. Or
I
new.
I think the turnovers and the sack numbers aren't quite what they are at with the Gannon defense we had last year. But what is your thoughts on Desai's defense through 4 games
I
versus
think the
Gannon's?
I actually think the defenses looked fine. I mean, the
More
secondary looked a little
injuries.
rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, the secondary looked rough this week. I mean, yeah, there's injuries, but they were out there. I mean, Bradbury did not look good. Slay gave up he made some plays, but he also gave up a few plays. I don't think the secondary played their best game. I thought there were some bad penalties that they had. But outside of that, I thought the defense has been very solid. I mean, what you're getting from guys like Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox, who was rejuvenated, like that alone is menacing. Look at the run defense.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of Sam Howell's like bullshit quarterback sneaks that they let him have multiple times. You're talking about like Brian Robinson was 14 of 45. Antonio Gibson was 6 for 19. They take away those Sam Howell quarterback sneaks, and you're talking about like 60, 50 yards rushing on like a 3.3 yard per average. And those quarterback runs by Howell were mostly broken down in the pocket, scrambling. That's what killed me, is that they had that way too many times. That I think is, I don't think that's really them getting outschooled. I don't think Desai's getting, embarrassed by the enemy. I think that they're just falling for the same thing over and over again. They're not staying on that quarterback. But listen, give Hal credit. I actually thought he played really well. For a guy I did not think was going to be anything more than a stopgap quarterback, he actually looked pretty good.
I thought he looked decent last year when he would come in and play. So I'm not too surprised, but I think the fact that he threw what 4 interceptions against the Bills last week, people were like expecting him to, you know, shit the bed.
Well, no,
But
I mean, he did throw some that interception they should have caught in the end zone was a terrible decision to throw that ball. But we didn't make him pay, and that's why this game was so close. But at the end of the day, you still gritted it out. You still won. Run defense has impressed me. The pass rush in some avenues inconsistent, and I think the secondary overall has been okay when they're healthy. So I think obviously Gannon's defense was a little different. It also helped that their offense was scoring pretty much like 20 points a half. And, the teams were passing the ball a lot more. Guys like Reddick and Hargrave could just pin their ears back. So I think the defense is fine. I think situationally, obviously they're not as good as what Gannon had last year, but I think that's more of a situational thing. I think the talent's fine though.
yeah, I think some injuries in the secondary definitely impacted it, and injuries at linebacker, and we've had to have people step up. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I think they're fine. I mean, you have a kind of funny. You have AJ Brown and DeAndre Swift, who that first week barely did anything, and now the last 3 games they've cemented themselves as I think AJ's 6 in receiving now, and Swift is second to McCaffrey in rushing, and he only played 3 games. So
Yeah, that Gainwell having 35 carries the first game. I mean, but this is what the Eagles offense is. This is what they should be. You want to take away one guy. All right, well, we have this guy. Okay, you're going to take away this guy. Like Devontae Smith to start the season was incredible. I mean, he was 7 for 78 this week, but he wasn't 9 for 175 and 2 tutties like AJ Brown was.
that's true. But
Dallas Goedert still really hasn't done anything. So I think
yeah,
we're fine where it is.
I don't
I'm
know
not hearing this
what's
negative nonsense because you're 4 now.
yeah, I don't know what's up with Goddard. I don't know if it's just that they're using him more in the running game, or if Hurts he's just not one of Hurts top progression reads. But I I feel like he'll have one of those games where they target him and get him. Like, there's no denying they've been targeting AJ Brown more the last 2 games, but he's one of the best receivers in the league. So why wouldn't you throw it to him? So,
Yeah, exactly.
but moving on, we can touch on some other games if you have anything else to add.
No, I think that's pretty good.
All right. So we started off last Thursday with Lions beating the Packers 34-20. I think that was a pretty huge game for the Lions in Lambeau, pretty much dominating, Jordan Love and the Packers. They looked good. I think they'll still end up winning that division. I think they're a little rough around the edges, but it's a good team, and then they're really behind each other. I think that's also what's important. So
Yeah, no, I like the Lions. I still have them come in the North. The North looks like ass, but someone's got to win it. I think they'll be all right. I didn't expect David Montgomery to have 30 carries and 3 touchdowns, but
yeah,
teach
I was gonna say we need Jahmyr Gibbs to be all of our well, all of my award picks are not looking too great. We had Joe Burrow MVP, Jamar Chase Offensive Player of the Year, Jahmyr Gibbs Rookie of the Year. I mean, Jalen Carter Defensive Rookie of the Year still looks pretty good,
that
but
does look pretty good.
Pat Surtain does not look very good because that Denver team is getting thrashed on defense. So
Well, let's see. So let's go. I mean, you touched on the Bengals. The Bengals, I don't know what's going on. I really don't know. Do they suck? 27-3 to the Titans. I had some alarms going off, but I still thought they could have won. But this is a 5 alarm. Is this all right? Is this the LA Rams of last year? Are they going to just fall apart? Do they call it a day on Joe Burrow? Is he not healthy? Like, what the hell is going on in Cincinnati?
I definitely think he's injured. Either that or I think didn't he have surgery in the offseason? Maybe he's not fully healed or something, but
Dude, I don't like.
I don't know.
But
I know
no one is good. Their defense stinks. They can't run the ball.
Burrow did get hurt in preseason, I remember, or like early August or late July. So that maybe it's lingering.
Yeah, that was his excuse. He's like, we're going to come out slow when your quarterback misses all of training camp. But now we're 0-4, and you just got, or what are they, 1-3 or 0-4? Yeah, you just
One and
got
three.
waxed. Yeah, 1-3, and you just got waxed by the Titans. The Titans are not a good team, and you got smacked by them. But we'll see. Speaking of another team that is ass, well, two teams that are ass,
Mm.
and I think we had an ass off on this, and I can't
Oh,
believe. Oh,
love a good ass off.
I think the whole state of Denver would have, or state of Colorado would have lost their mind for a very mellow,
The
like
state of
pot
Denver.
heavy, pot heavy state. I think they would have just uprised if the Broncos managed to lose to the Bears. But credit to them, they managed to come back on the worst team of football. And the Bears just keep reminding us that they're the worst team of football.
Yeah,
But
I had a friend who's a Bears fan. He like midway through that game, he texted our one group and he's like, oh wow, is Justin Fields actually good now, or are the Bears or are the Broncos just not a good team? And we're like, oh yeah, no, the Broncos just suck. And then lo and behold, they they came back on the Bears.
well, I
Oh,
mean, their defense is trash. I mean, you gave up 28 points to the Bears. That says enough. Well,
yeah, I mean, I think going into the year we knew the Bears defense was not going to be very good, but yeah, I mean, Fields doesn't look good. You have receivers that think they're good and then don't even play. Like Claypool
yeah,
is
the
Claypool is such a joke, man. He went from like potential in Pittsburgh and went to the city where receivers die in Chicago, and it's just been a diva. And like, I think over the summer he said he was a top five wide receiver, and I
yeah,
don't think
he's
he
just,
even has a
what
catch this
was
year.
what was the guy's name? I'm blanking on his name. The one that he gave up 4 touchdowns to when the Eagles played Claypool. Is
No,
it
I don't
Nate
remember.
something? It was the linebackers, the white dude, the white safety linebacker, couldn't cover. Nate
Oh,
something,
oh,
maybe.
oh, oh, oh. I hated him. What the hell is
I
his
don't
name?
know. I'm blanking on his name, but Chase Claypool has to send him a Christmas card every single, not even a Christmas card, just a monthly thank you card, because he has been so irrelevant since that game that I really think the only thing that's kept him in this league this long is he scored 4 touchdowns in one game. So then you're like, oh, this is the next Steeler wide receiver, and the Steelers just keep producing wide receivers. And then you're always giving a chance, oh, he's going to be there. And then they trade him to the Bears, who idiotically thought he'd be worth what pretty much amounted to a first round pick.
Hmm.
Really, 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 I just odd career arc because he has done absolutely nothing. And at this point, I can't imagine he's going to be on the team much longer. He's giving me those Robbie Anderson vibes from last year. He's like, let me shit talk cause enough problem on a terrible team. Eventually, they'll get rid of me.
Trying to remember. Oh, wasn't it? Was it Nate Gary? Was that who you were talking
Nate
about?
Gary, there you go. I knew it was
Yeah.
something, some very white name, and
Yeah,
there's nothing whiter than a Nate Gary.
he sucked. Did not like
Yeah.
him.
But what do we got in the rest of the league? Give me a good team. We can break down a good team. We're talking about too much
Well,
shit teams.
we got to go in chronological order. So, I mean, we had a Toy Story matchup with the Jaguars playing the Falcons.
Thoughts on that?
I thought it was kind of cool.
I loved it.
Uh, I saw the crane doing like the placing the ball in the field, and it looked more like a video game than it did like Toy Story, but I thought it was kind of cool.
Very no, I liked it a lot. I remember they did that with the NHL last year or
Hmm.
2 years ago, whatever it was. I liked it then, but I liked it even more on the football. It was very cool. Great idea. I don't know what technology they're using to pull it off because it's insane, but very cool.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious because it's the people are all the diehard, football purists are like in shambles because you have the NFL catering to kids with Toy Story, and then you have the whole Taylor Swift and 60% in women viewership of the NFL, and they're all the old men are like, well, they're tarnishing our game. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, relax.
I think it's great.
I like
Listen,
it. I'm all about it. So
it's a good way. I mean, listen, you're gonna. I don't think there's many parents thrilled to see their kids want to play NFL football, football at all, with
true.
all the concussions and everything. So you got to get the kids hooked young. Mom and dad aren't going to crush your dreams if you already fell in love with it watching Toy Story.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Falcons look bad now. Desmond Ridder looks like garbage. So
Yeah,
that's good.
he's a weird team, man. There's
Bijan,
so many weapons, but
Bijan looks legit though.
that one was
He's
everyone knew he was going to be good. Top 10 running backs are always good.
I know, but he's making grown men jump out of their cleats. It's impressive. So
When does he start throwing the ball? Because
He might have to.
I think Kyle Pitts and Drake London probably have a better chance with him throwing the ball than they do Ritter.
Talk about another disappointment, Kyle Pitts, man. I don't know if he's being wasted or if he's just not that great as we thought he was, but who knows?
I think it's a combination. I do think he's getting wasted, but I think people are giving him too much of a pass. I mean, even there's been a lot of great wide receivers, tight ends that have been in worse situations.
Yeah, that's fair. Another game we had, I think honestly, this might be my surprise team of the year, besides the Texans, but the LA Rams beat the Colts in overtime. Stafford's looked pretty good. The defense has been fine. You have the outstanding, wide receivers that came out of nowhere and Puka, who's like breaking records. So I'm surprised with the Rams. They're playing a lot better than myself and other people definitely thought they would. But Colts they came back. They made it a game. I think the Rams were up, 23-0, and then Colts came back, forced overtime. So, but
You just run us down through all those meaningless games that we don't
meaningless
care
games.
about.
Sorry. Like you said earlier, Browns. Actually, did we talk about that? So Ravens beat the Browns 28-3. No Deshaun Watson. Yeah, got a couple. I think Ravens had a couple of special teams defensive scores, so kind of ran it up on them. But Browns get Watson back. I think he was just sitting with a sore shoulder or something. But Vikings beat the Panthers 21-3. Panthers don't look great. Vikings don't look great either, though. So I mean, Kirk Cousins threw a freaking pick six at the goal line. So
Yeah, classic Kirk Cousins. Bryce Young, I mean, I'm not giving up on him. I don't say he's bad, but he's looking he's definitely in third out of the rookie quarterbacks. Stroud and Richardson look much better than him so
yeah,
far.
I would agree with that statement. We already touched on Titans beat the Bengals 27-3. The Buccaneers beat the Saints 26-9. Whether that's the Saints because they had to start Jameis Winston, or maybe the Bucs are actually good and the Eagles just made them look like a crappy team. Who knows? But Bills took a page out of the Dolphins book and ran up the scoreboard 48-20. I was surprised. I thought the Bills were going to win. I mean, so did you. You picked them as well, but I was surprised it wasn't close. I was surprised the Bills really put it on them.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of had this was kind of a big brother, little brother, I think, game. I mean, I like the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins are good. But when the Bills are right, you have to think that like the Bills are still they run that division. I mean, the Dolphins have been a fun pick, but when they're right, it's still a little brother and big brother. And I don't think little brother's ready to compete with big brother just yet.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, Broncos and Bears, 31-28, game of the fucking week. Eagles beat the Commanders, 34-31. We talked about that. Texans, really, I mean, Pickett got hurt for the Steelers. That's not really saying much, but Texans beat the Steelers 30-6. I mean, like you said, we have, Jan and like on his name in Indianapolis, but CJ Stroud still hasn't thrown an interception. Looking pretty good.
Yeah.
So good for the Texans. Good. Chargers nearly blew their win. They won 24-17 over the Raiders. They were up like, I forget how many points, but the Raiders crawled back, made a game out of it. But
Chargers are a joke. Now they've traded J.C. Jackson, as keeps the usual carousel of Patriots players leaving, getting paid, and then coming back to the Patriots on a severe discount. Yeah, I don't get that team. And you know what? I kind of wanted them to lose because they're just like an infuriating team. They don't have a fan base. They have all this talent that gets them nowhere. Herbert, I feel bad for the guy because he's getting killed. Every year he's playing and he's getting crushed and killed. And the team and franchise just don't deserve him.
Yeah, I mean, we've discussed this before, but how often does hiring a defensive coach work at the NFL, especially with a young quarterback? Doesn't always work.
Well, I mean, listen, there's a good case being developed in Houston, though.
There's exceptions to the rule, but vast majority, you have a young quarterback, you want an offensive-minded head coach to go in there. But
fair enough. Well, we'll see.
49ers took care of the Cardinals. Well, excuse me, Christian McCaffrey took care of the Cardinals 35-16. He had what, three or four touchdowns? He
He had
was,
4. Yeah.
yeah, I think he had 48 fantasy points for me. It was insane.
You know what he
Um,
told everyone? He told everyone that doesn't think running backs are value to go suck a dick because a second and a third for Christian McCaffrey was getting criticized way too much.
I
At the end of
think
the day, it was a second and third round pick for one of the best players in football. I don't care what position he plays.
I don't remember where you had him, but I know I had him as second in our running back top 10 rankings. And or was it third? I think it was second. And with
I think we both had him at third.
was it third?
Yeah,
No, I think I went Chubb, CMC, Derrick Henry, I believe.
maybe, but we'll let it go.
Well, anyways, with Chubb being injured, CMC obviously moves up. So, and he's MVP. I don't even know why we have these discussions on MVP as quarterbacks all the time, but it should go to CMC right now. He's by far the best player in the league. Best defensive player in the league, probably Micah Parsons. Cowboys beat the Patriots 38-3. I don't think offensively I'm worried, but are we scared of Dallas's defense?
We'll see. I mean, come on. They've crushed the Giants. They crushed the Jets. They crushed the Patriots.
That's fair.
Let's not get in a little tizzy just yet.
I think
Because
they're
you know what happened when last time Jalen Hurts played Michael Parsons? He was breaking his ankle nearly every play.
Yeah, I
He's
remember
like, "Oh,
that.
you're so good. Let me just go at you and just break your ankle every single time." Still one of my favorite just strategies I've seen in football. It's just go at your best player every single time on an option. He's got to be wrong. You know, you're either taking it or you're throwing it. He's always going to be wrong.
Who was it that what's the defensive lineman's name? The D end. Um Number 90 on the Cowboys.
Lawrence?
Yeah, DeMarcus Lawrence. I remember when he called out Jalen Hurts before the game and he was like, it's a great team. He's just, he's a game manager or whatever. He's just, plug and play. He hasn't played the Cowboys yet. And then
Yeah.
he was juking him
Then
out
he
of his
played the
cleats.
Yeah.
There's a clip of him just literally whiffing on a sack. And so that's all you need to know. But I think they'll be good. I hate to say that, but I think they've gotten, like you said, they played some not so great teams. They've gotten some really lucky opportunities on defense and special teams, but I think
Let's put it this way. I'm
their
not
defense is
worried.
good.
I'm
We'll
not
see.
worried right now.
Yeah.
I'm not worried. We'll wait and see what happens. I'm not worried.
The Cowboys
They
will still
lost to
cowboy.
Jonathan Gannon.
Yeah.
Yeah, they lost to Jonathan Gannon.
Final games we have the Chiefs played a nail biter with the Jets. Really, really ugly game, 23-20.
Hey, I say it all the time with the Eagles. Good teams find a way to win. Good teams find a way to win.
Wild that Zach Wilson looked better than Pat Mahomes that game, but
yeah, up until he dropped the fumble in a crucial moment. So
that's true. And then did you know Taylor Swift was in attendance at the Chiefs game? Never would have guessed.
She plays music, right? She's a singer.
I think so. Yeah.
Everyone keeps talking about
Sounds
it.
familiar.
She's like, yeah, I figured she was just like number one Chiefs fan. There's like that firefighter jet dude and the firefighter Ed or whatever. And then there's the dude who's got the Philly Fanatic tattooed on his belly button. Yeah. I thought she was just one of those.
Yeah. Some kind of song like Romeo and Juliet or something like that. I forget. I think she's country music.
You're getting too much into it.
But yeah, so that's still a thing. Hopefully it dies down a little bit. And then Seahawks beat the Giants 24-3. This let me tell you, part of me feels bad for Danny Dimes because that offensive line is non-existent. Like you talk about turnstile offensive lines, like they are not blocking anyone. I saw linemen blocking their own. I saw one of the Giants tackles literally blocking Darren Waller. He's on the same team. I'm like, what? Yeah. They're bad. They are bad.
It's funny you mentioned that because I was actually going to roll into something that played off that, and the transition game is always on point.
Yeah, of course.
Because we're gonna roll. I don't know if you're in a good mood or bad mood. Wasn't going to ask because we're gonna roll right into the duds.
Okay, go for it.
And our third dud was actually a guy you were just talking about. He was actually just christening your taste buds.
Ooh.
So a guy who's part of that turnstile offensive line, and man, the Giants I feel like have had a terrible offensive line. they've had a terrible offensive line for like I want to say the last decade. There was like I feel
Uh,
like a half a season where everyone was getting giddy. The Andrew Thomas hype was all cool and everything. That doesn't seem to have worked out too well. But let's go to the guy who not only sucks just like everyone else on the line, but let's go to the guy who's also now taking the bold decision, which is never smart in sports, to shit talk his own fan base while he's at it. So showing, when you suck, when there's always that athlete, when when they suck, when they take the rich man approach, like, oh, I'm so rich. Who the fuck are you? You flip burgers, talking down on me. Listen, dude, you suck. Like there's people out there that flip burgers, sure, but they're better at flipping burgers than you are at playing offensive linemen, and that's really all that matters. They aren't 6'9" and 350 pounds like you are, but at the end of the day, Evan Neal, you are so trash that I feel bad for Danny Dimes, and I'm not one to show any compassion to Giants like quarterbacks, but I feel bad for this guy because he's just getting like roasted, just crushed in the media. And like you look at this offside, they're just god awful. He's getting physically and just emotionally through the media just abused. And Evan Neal, you are more concerned with arguing with your own fan base than you are protecting your quarterback. So, well done, my friend.
Man, sucks to be a New York sports fan right now. I mean, the Yankees didn't make the playoffs. The Mets aren't in the playoffs. The Jets are a mess. The Giants are even worse. It's
Dude, I
what
mean,
y'all
right
rooting for
now,
over
like
there?
this has been like this for a while. It's not even right now. They've like just sucked for a
Oh,
while like this.
yeah, the Giants had some, they had their good years in the, 2010, like early 2000s to 2010s, but man, these last like 10 years have been horrible for them. But I don't
Yeah,
care. I'm an Eagles
you're
fan,
not.
so
I kind of love it. I just, you know what? It just what makes it better though is just the inept like ability to like be successful franchises. Like the non-successful franchises have offensive linemen call out their own fan base for flipping hot dogs and burgers. It's just
they
idiotic.
I think I forget the stat off my hand, but do you remember when Odell was still on the Giants and they took that boat pick when they were on like
Oh
a
yeah, that was also
they've
fantastic.
that was like that had to have been like what 5, 6 years ago. They've only won 11 games since that picture was taken.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised, to be honest.
They're like 11 and like 40 or 30 or something like that. I forget. It's not good.
Well, listen, we all love a little, Giants misery.
Hmm.
But moving on, so third dud was Evan Neal this week. Moving on, we're gonna go to what do I always tell you, Dakota? You're a listener. You've listened to me ramble for quite some time.
Unfortunately.
You've loved every word that I've blessed you with. What do I always say? What is the main criteria to getting on the dud list?
I don't know.
Oh, so you're not even trying. Lose your job.
Uh,
And my friend, the door is now closed. The experiment is now over. We are now looking for a new regime. The door is closed. He did well. I don't know if he's actually well. He was like decent for 10 games, but Mac Jones, you're officially no longer going to be a starting quarterback. I
is
know
that
Bill
official?
Belichick's playing tight to the I know, but let's be honest. It's done.
What
We know it.
Zappy did come in, so yeah.
It's over. This was happening last year. They tried it again. We all know it's done. While maybe it's not official, he might start this week. It doesn't really matter. The job's gone. You are no longer the franchise quarterback of the Patriots. You were there definitely looking for an upgrade this offseason. They'll probably give Zappe another chance, but like I said, your job is gone. You played horrendous again. The Cowboys smoked you, so now we have to hear about how the Cowboys are probably going to go to the Super Bowl because they went and destroyed a terrible opponent.
Yep.
But no, Mac Jones, your job is lost. You might
Was
not
Mac
know it yet. Bill Belichick hasn't said it yet, but it is gone.
was Mac Jones the same draft class as Justin Fields?
Yeah, to be honest, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Zach Wilson. 4 first-round picks, all looking pretty terrible.
I mean Lawrence is obviously much much better than them, but he
He's not
hasn't.
the Trevor Lawrence we expected.
No, I agree, but he's not Zach Wilson, and he's not Mac Jones, and he's definitely not Justin Fields.
Everyone was giddy. Remember, you know how every like 2 or 3 years, like this is the year of the quarterback. And for every time there's a, Burrow, Tua, Herbert, Trey Lance draft class, there's one of these. And there's more of these than there are any other year.
Yeah, not a good draft
But
class.
we digress. We leave my phone, Mac Jones gone because his job is now gone. Whether it's announced or not, we'll see. Moving on to our number one dud, and actually, I think this is going to be, foreshadowing something because I think it's another person that's about to lose their job very shortly.
Oh,
We're going to go with a guy who, I mean, the Chicago Bears are a train wreck. I mean, I could literally make a duds list off their roster alone,
yeah, it's pretty bad.
but I'm going to go with the guy driving the clown show, and I'm going to go with him because he's not had one moment, but this is now the second moment this season. We're in week 4 where a player is calling out the coach's ability to coach or just general coach in general.
Mm.
So Matt Eberflus, who's now been called out by Justin Fields for apparently the reason he's struggling is because of coaching. And then Chase Claypool, who apparently, was told by coaches to be sent home, even though the coaches told us a different story. It's just they're 0-4. They look terrible, but it's like show some composure, man.
Yeah.
Like you've got these players going against the coaches. You stand no chance. You are going to get fired before the season's over. So Matty Flus, I don't think this is going to be the first appearance on the duds list for you, buddy, but you're number one dud this week.
Yeah, it's not look great. Him and McDaniels over in LA, they do not look great.
Yeah, well, I mean, me Eberflus is going to be the first one to go. I don't know who else is after that, but Eberflus is done. But we digress. Moving on to something positive, we're going to go to a guy that you actually touched on already, surprisingly. Guy who I would agree with you probably should get an MVP vote. And before we get into that, let me just tell you, this was probably one of the best studs week I've ever seen in my long reigning tenure of doing this.
Okay.
This was an incredible week. It really was. If you factor in a guy who had 4 touchdowns, is number 3 on the stud list.
Wow.
I didn't even mention the fact that AJ Brown, who had 9 receptions, 175 yards, and 2 touchdowns, didn't even make the list. Spoiler
Wow.
alert.
Wow.
I mean, honestly, this is one of the better weeks I can honestly remember. This is truly an incredible week of just studs and duds. But yeah, we're gonna go with. I think you already mentioned your MVP vote. I wouldn't fight you on that. I'd probably throw my hat on in there as well. But had 106 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. He had another 71 yards through the air and a touchdown there. So you're talking about 4 touchdowns and nearly 200 yards from scrimmage. Just an absolute Christian McCaffrey type of game. So we're going to go with Christian McCaffrey at the 3rd stud spot here. I think the first 2 in front of him, you can fight me on the order. I'll ask for your opinion after on the order, but let me get to my other 2 and I'll give you my reasoning. Because my next one, guy we touched on a little bit. I mean, let me just read you a stat line.
Okay.
21 of 25, 320 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and hell, if you want to, throw another touchdown on the ground and 17 yards rushing. So Mr. 5 touchdowns, who had 1 touchdown more than McCaffrey, but more importantly, did it with little brother, the Mr. hottest team in football, Mr. 70 points. They have now taken over the AFC East. Buffalo Bills went and just put down little brother and said, "No, the division's still mine." Josh Allen gave honestly one of the best games I can ever remember having.
Yeah.
He had more touchdowns than he had incomplete passes. More touchdowns than incomplete passes, Dakota. Just wrap your head around that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Truly, truly an incredible performance. And you know what? The more I say this out loud, the more disappointed in myself that he's not number one, because I think he should be. But sometimes you see something flashy like 70 points or this and that, and you have to go with the flashy. So while his team nearly cost him this spot just because they're an inept ability to win a game, I have to go with a guy who puts up 6 sacks and nearly ties one of the greatest records in, I think, sports history. Because it's really, I mean, if you factor in a sack is not easy to get.
Correct.
That's something you can adjust. Exactly. You can adjust your whole entire offensive game plan to stop from someone get a sack. You can double team them, you can chip them, you can just stay away from their side. Records like home runs, you can pitch around the guy, but eventually if you're in a situation where, you need to throw it at this guy, the game's on the line, you're going to eventually have to pitch to him. Sacks, you can just always work around him. It's too much of a team sport. So Khalil Mack, even though I'll tell you this, I'll let you in on a little insider secret. He was in the conversation for the dud list last week. I was going to rip him. Thank God I was in Germany, because that would have not aged well. Because I was going to say how irrelevant this guy was. He had 2 tackles all year, and then he rips off 6 sacks. So yeah, I mean the Raiders are a joke, but there's only one of I think they said 6 people to ever do this in the game, so you have to go with it. So I'll take Khalil Mack number 1 stud this week.
So I can't remember if it was last week when I had Mike subbing in for you, or if it was 2 weeks ago when you were on. But one of those episodes we had discussed that Khalil Mack might as well be on the bus because he was doing nothing. He was irrelevant. And then I see him on the score on the highlights. He's got 2 sacks, three, 4 sacks, 6 sacks. I'm like, well, I guess he woke up. So
It was number 6 because the Raiders are a trash team. Like I guarantee, if he had 4 sacks, wouldn't have made the stud list this week. But once we got to like 6, like 5, I was like, all right, he's gonna be attention. But then this was one of the greatest stud weeks ever. He was like still like he's probably 3, and then he got number 6, and I was like, all right, well, goddamn. I mean, he's almost at like the record at this point. But I mean, listen, talk about 4 touchdowns, nearly 200 yards scrimmaging, a guy who had 5 touchdowns against a team that put up 70 and smashed them, and then 6 sacks. Hell of a week, hell of a stud week.
Can I give an honorary stud?
Of course.
So I think, unfortunately, the other guy, other top 10 cornerback, just got hurt and he's out for the year in Gonzalez with the Patriots, but he was playing really well up until he got hurt. The other guy drafted, I think, top 5 or top 6, Witherspoon with the Seahawks. Hell of a game.
Yeah.
7 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 4 pressures on the QB. This is a cornerback.
Yeah.
3 QB hits and an interception, which I believe was a pick 6.
To be fair, he's in that nice system because he's kind of in that big athletic physical safety role. With Pete Carroll, you kind of think he's going to play in a little bit of Jamal Adams, Derwin James hybrid. He likes his physical corners, but no, I mean, there was a lot of good honorable mentions. AJ Brown, we touched on. Nicholas Moreau was heavily in the conversation. Witherspoon would have been a good one.
I guess right. It was a good week for studs.
It was insane. I was like looking through this, like, God damn, this is hard.
Well, it's always good to have stuff like that going around with, especially for Mac. Like he looked like he was gonna have a, downfall of his career this year. No, I'm still here, 6 sacks. So
yeah, seriously.
But all right, hit you with some too much whiz for you. I was going to ask if you thought Matt Eberflus was going to get fired before the trade deadline, but I feel like I can shift that a little bit.
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
So too much whiz. The Chicago Bears will finish the season and end up with the 1 and 2 first round picks because right now they are number 1 and number 2. Because they would have to.
I'm going to say
they'd have to be the worst team in the league.
Yeah, no, they're definitely picking first overall. That is a guarantee. I'm going to say too much whiz. I think the Panthers will get better. I mean, listen, they're a young team. They're a young quarterback. Young teams like this usually get better as the year goes on. There's still some bad teams there. I mean, I don't think the Patriots are going to be this bad because of Bill Belichick, but they look awful. The Cardinals are still there. I'm not buying into this. They beat the Cowboys. They played a tough game. The Raiders look like terrible.
Yeah.
There's a couple bad teams out there. The Jets, I don't think they get 1 and 2. They're definitely getting 1, but I don't think they get 2 as well. I think the Panthers show a little life at the end of the season when Bryce gets a little more comfortable.
Okay. Next, too much whiz. Too much whiz. The winner of the San Francisco Cowboys matchup this weekend will be one of the representatives in the NFC Championship game.
I'm going to say not too much whiz because I think the Niners are going to beat them. And I still think that it's the Eagles and Niners and the rest of the NFC isn't even close. I'm not buying the Cowboys. I'm not. Yeah, the Lions are cute. I'm not buying them yet, but I still think it's the Eagles and Niners and no one else is really close. So I think the Niners win this week. And I think the Niners are probably going to be against the Eagles in this championship game.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's definitely the NFC is definitely wide open for it. Like you said, I think Eagles and Niners are tier 1.
I don't know. I really don't think it's wide open. I think it's the Eagles and Niners. I'd be shocked if it was any other team besides the Eagles.
No,
I
mean like after Eagles Niners, it's like
oh sure, yeah. Whoever's going to get smashed by the Eagles and Niners, the divisional round. I guess.
Well, staying in the division of the Eagles, my final too much whiz. Too much whiz. Danny Dimes will be benched at some point this year in favor of whoever is back up in New York.
That one's tough. I'm gonna say too much whiz. I don't think they're gonna bench him. What is that gonna do? Your offense line is so
The
trash. Are
Giants.
you just
I
gonna
don't
bring
know.
it? I don't know who the backup is, so
Neither do
this
I.
is tough. But like, are you really gonna take whoever the backup is and just let them get absolutely destroyed? I don't. I think Danny Dimes stinks, but I think he's got a little too much criticism for how bad this offensive line is in front of him.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially when you factor Saquon Barkley's the best player on that team isn't there. Like he gets too much credit, too much criticism. So I'm not going to buy it yet.
All right. I sadly agree with you on that, but I mean, not sadly, but you know. Anyways, moving on to our power rankings. So, of course, Eagles remain at number one here, 4-0, till otherwise proven. 49ers at 4-0, or number two is this week. I think there were 3 or 2 last week. Bills hop up to number 3 after that dominating performance on the Dolphins. Chiefs at number 4. Dolphins slide a little to 5. Cowboys remain at 6. Ravens at 7. Seahawks at 8. Lions, who look good, and Lambeau at 9. And then the Browns at 10. I think of all the 2-2 teams, they're one of the stronger ones. I mean, Watson didn't play last week. But their defense looks, I mean, Myles Garrett and, blank on his name, Zadarius Smith are terrifying duo. So they still look good. I think they can rebound, but that is our power rankings. And then we can go into game picks to kind of close out the episode. We've been doing pretty well. We had those first 2 weeks we were pretty sketchy, a little rough, but you went 14-2 this week. Very impressive.
I did.
Very impressive.
I
I'll
did.
give you.
I know. I'm on top of my shit.
I went 12-4, and our guest picks went 10-6. So you were able to
big week
catch
for us.
Oh, huge! You were able to catch up. You are now tied with the guest picks, and I am very close behind. So
you're in last place.
technically, yes.
Technically, I mean it's very simple. It's last place. So.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's see how you do this time.
All right. For this week, we have Mr. Billy Greer doing guest picks. He's been done guest picks
Big
in the
Bill.
past. Yeah, had to bring him out for it. So, getting started, we have the Bears and the Commanders So this episode is being posted and recorded on Thursday, and this game is going to start in about an hour. Who do you like in that terrible matchup? I'm just going to say Commanders because I don't think the Bears have anything in them. But
yeah, if I just spent what do we have on 45 minutes shit talking the Bears and then try to sell you on them, like that'd be like a used car salesman trying to sell you a car that didn't have a transmission. Oh, but it's got great interior. Headlights work fantastic. No, the Bears suck. I'm taking the Commanders.
Yeah, I will take them as well. Next game, poor Jaguars, man. Did they just stay overseas? Because they're playing
They did. So wait, hold on. Before you get ahead of yourself, I'm actually going to hit you with my upset of the week.
Oh, shoot.
I'm going to hit you. And you know what? Because I made a similar argument on why I thought the Bills were going to beat the Dolphins, because I thought that they were going to catch the Dolphins with a little bit of hangover after 70 points. Well, now the Bills are going to have that hangover after smashing the Dolphins, and now they have to fly to London. I don't know if you've ever been hungover and jet lagged at the same time. It is not fun.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, it's a brutal experience. But the Jaguars have been here. They looked pretty good against the Falcons. I think they showed a little life. They're not a bad team. They just played bad the week 2 and week 3. I think they knock off the Bills here.
I'm kind of annoyed because I was tingling with the idea of taking the Jaguars, but I'm just gonna take the Bills now to offset you.
Go tingle somewhere else.
Tingle is not the right word. I don't know why I would pick tingle, but next game we have Saints at the Patriots. Oh, before I forget, Billy picked Washington and he picked Buffalo, and he's picking. Hold on, New Orleans.
I I don't know if Derek Carr's going to play. I don't know if they've given us a full announcement. I think he's still limited in practice, but I kind of went in on Mac Jones. I think the Saints defense is really good. I think it's a recipe for disaster. I'm taking New Orleans.
I agree. I'm gonna take the Saints as well. Next game, Titans at the Colts. I just never believe in the Titans, and the Colts have been pretty resilient. I feel like they've fought in these games, so I'm gonna take the Colts here, and I guess that's a bit of an upset.
I've picked against the Titans, I think, every week. I've betted against the Titans, and they've screwed me every single week. I'm finally going to turn my tide because I did want to pick the Colts, but then I thought how they've screwed me every week. So I'll take the Titans this week, and I'm sure they'll get smashed by the Colts because I'm doing it.
Okay. Let's see. Billy is taking the Colts in this one. Next game, we have Ravens at the Steelers. Yeah, I know it's divisional, but Steelers looked pretty rough on offense. Najee Harris, I saw someone said Najee Harris runs like he's wearing jeans, which I think is a really funny way to describe him. But yeah, Flurry's not having a good time over there in Pittsburgh because they're about to lose again. So I'm gonna take the Ravens.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, kind of pick him getting hurt. You know, no one wants to get hurt, but like him not playing might help them. But it's going to be the Ravens winning this.
Billy also is taking Baltimore. Next game is the Panthers at the Lions, and if I can find it here, Billy's taking the Lions. I'm not surprised. I will also be
Yeah,
taking the Lions.
I think I'd take the Lions too. I mean, Bryce Young might not play, and I don't know. They're not there yet, but I'll take the Lions.
Texans at the Falcons. I'm riding with Houston here. They're playing well.
I'm going to go Houston as well. Desmond Ritter is the worst quarterback in football right now.
Worse than Fields.
Yeah,
And
Fields can run a little bit.
I guess.
Zach Wilson's close, but it's just the fact that like I think Arthur Smith's a good coach. Their line's pretty solid. They have a ton of weapons, and he still can't do anything.
It's true. Billy's taking the Falcons. Interesting.
Really? Okay.
Bold choice.
Teach your own. Teach your own.
Next game, final 1 o'clock game, is the Giants at the Dolphins. Dolphins coming off of a dismantling.
Yeah, this is you've heard me.
For some reason I'm like, I'll say tingled again.
Oh, do it.
No,
Do
I'm
it.
not gonna do it. No.
Follow your tingle.
No, I'm not gonna do it.
You've heard me say it. I mean, I should patent it at this point. This is a get right game. The Dolphins will be getting right after this.
I'll make you a T-shirt which is the get right game.
I want that, please.
Billy is taking dun, da, da, da. I can't even find it. Miami. So surprise. Next game on the docket. Bengals at the Cardinals. I don't even feel confident. I don't even feel confident saying the Bengals.
This is such a trap game. Like, I mean, the Bengals look awful, but the Cardinals aren't good. Oh, this is like one of those. You think how low can you possibly go?
Well,
and the Bengals are pretty low now, and you're like, damn, they can't go this low. And
but wait
the Cardinals, they look
you.
competitive.
Yeah,
the Cardinals look competitive. They beat the Cowboys.
They got that. What did Gannon say? The fire in your gut. They took the bus.
You know
Billy's taking the Bengals. I'm gonna take the Bengals. What are you feeling? What are you tingling?
You know what? Listen, I learned my lesson with the Titans. I haven't learned my lesson yet with the Bengals. Let me get hurt again. I couldn't go double down on both of them, but I can be hurt by one of them, be okay with it. So I'm taking the Bengals.
All right. Eagles at the Rams. I'm gonna say I'm not worried, but I do think this is gonna be the toughest game for them this year. I think Stafford's gonna really test that secondary with how much injuries we're dealing with. But still taking the Birds, obviously. But
yeah, no, I'm going to take the Birds. I do think the Rams are much better than I expected this year.
Yeah.
Their offensive line, though, I know they played pretty well. They don't have they're such a young offensive line, and that was their biggest problem last year. If the pass rush doesn't show up this week, I'm be concerned. But I'll take the Eagles.
We need one of those. I mean, we saw Dallas get 9 sacks, Seattle get 11 sacks. Where the Eagles need one of those games. They need an 8 sack game, but I don't know. I really just think it's like teams of game plan. They saw what the Eagles did all year, and they game planned to throw the ball quickly and get it at like every quarterback we face. Quick throws, quick reads. So
Well,
we'll
listen,
see.
Stratford's a quick throw kind of guy, so but
Yeah,
we'll
we'll
see what
see.
happens.
We'll see. That's another thriller of a game. Jets at the Broncos.
Oh my
Oof.
gee. Oh, this one's
Billy
tough.
is taking Denver.
I kind of want to take Denver too. Yeah, it's just they can't be this bad for this long.
I
I'll
don't
take
know.
Denver.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the Jets just to be different because I think it's kind of a toss up.
Yeah.
Next game is the Chiefs at the Vikings.
Oh, well, this is going to be set your
I'm
DVR. That sounds like a game to me.
set your DVR.
The
I'm
Vikings against a an offensive team. Is that national TV?
425 game. I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Well, listen, I am going to be all the Eagles play at 4:05. I'm going to have to be quick on that last button so I can catch some of that Chiefs game, but the Chiefs are going to win this one.
I'm tempted. I'm tempted to make this my upset of the week.
I'll do it. This is a terrible decision, but go ahead and do it.
I'm gonna take the Vikings. I'm
Wow, that
gonna
is idiotic, but sure, go ahead.
yeah, I don't know why. Let's see. Billy's probably taking the Chiefs. Yep. But yeah, I don't know. There's there's always one game that's just dumb for no reason, and I think this is gonna be that game. I think Pacheco or some running back is gonna fumble it, and the Vikings are gonna run. Daniel Hunter is gonna run for a touchdown, and it's gonna be.
Well, it's very specific too.
I'm gonna bet on that now, but yeah, I'll take Vikings in my upset of the week. Got to have at least one really crazy bold pick. But
Fair enough.
Sunday night football game, I'm actually going to tune in. It should be interesting. Cowboys at the 49ers. I'm taking the 49ers because fuck Dallas, but they're also better. So
Yeah, I do think the 49ers are much better. I mean, I'm intrigued to see. I mean, the Cowboys are a joke. Like, their defense is solid. I'm just still not. I'm like everyone is, sucking off Brock Purdy and everything, but I'm still not sold on this. Like, eventually, he's going to have to win a game and drive the field, and we'll see. You got weapons up and down the field, but I'm going to need to see him play a little bit, and I'd be curious to see how he does against a good defense. So I'll take the Niners, though.
yeah, Billy's taking Chiefs from the last one, and then Niners here. I'm taking Niners. So, question for you then: would you rather see Brock Purdy struggle, which means the Dallas D getting after it, looking good, or would you rather see the Dallas offense struggle and be proven that they're not as great as everyone's, leading them up to be?
Brock Purdy struggle.
Hmm.
Because, well, one, I feel like I understand who Dak Prescott is more than I do Purdy. Well, I'm not
Hmm.
sold on Purdy yet. I also just don't think Dak Prescott's that great. But if you look at their offenses, the Cowboys they have some nice players like Lamb and Pollard and etc. The Niners have like top five players in pretty much every position on offense.
Hmm.
That I think it's helping Brock Purdy a lot. But at the end of the day, I don't think Dak Prescott's very good. I'm not sold on what they're doing, but the Niners on the end, if Purdy can play, there's so much talent on that offense, then they will be a big problem, and I will acknowledge that.
And Debo's not even playing well yet, so
Well, you got to give or take something. I mean, McCaffrey scoring 4 touchdowns, the ball can't go to everyone.
that's true. And then the final game, Monday night doozy, Packers at the Raiders. I think
Oh
I
my
think Packers
God,
get a W here.
why?
Raiders just not good.
Are we really all? Are we obsessed with the Devonte Adams return, rematch game that much? Like, how does this game get on national TV?
Monday night games have not been they've been very hit and miss for like the past couple years. I don't know why. I feel like they get like the scrub whatever teams are left over after the schedule's made. They're like, here you go.
Yeah, how
But
do they always come out like so far behind? But
I don't know.
I guess I don't know. The Raiders look pretty painful to watch. I think the Packers were coming off Thursday night football, a long week. I think they'll pull out. I think the Packers win.
Yeah, I agree. I think Billy's also taking the Packers. So a lot of similarities, but you're gonna go bold, take the Jags over the Bills. I'm gonna go bold, take the Vikings over the Chiefs. And yeah, we'll
It's
see
it's
how that
still
goes.
early. We're still trying to find out on teams. I'm not confident on to pull the trigger on some of these upsets just yet. I need to see a little bit more. But Before we sign off, I will say I just saw it on my phone light up. R.I.P. to Dick Butkus.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. Yeah, Dick Butkus died.
Legendary
80.
player.
Was he 80 years old?
Yeah.
They said. Yeah, sad.
Yeah, legendary player. Incredible name, by the way.
Oh,
Dick
phenomenal.
Butkus is the most NFL linebacker name I've ever seen in my life. But a guy that obviously we've never really watched, but legend speaks for his words. So I'll pour one out for an incredible player.
Yeah, I don't have a beer with me, but I have a can of empty cat food. So cheers to that.
How you can't just pour out a can of cat food in Dick Butkus' name.
I mean, I'm sure he liked pets and animals. So
Dick Butkus, I don't think liked anyone. He was a mean guy. That's why he was so good at linebacker.
Wow, ferocious like a tiger. There you go.
I know who's haunting you from now on. So
I'll go open a beer after this.
Yeah.
All right.
Till next time, though.
Peace out.
Peace.
Thank you again for listening to the Post-Fades and Cheesesteaks Sports Podcast. Please like, follow, and subscribe on all your major platforms. Follow us on YouTube. Follow the show on Spotify and Apple. And follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Have a great day, and tune in next week.